stopped every car in the Hardy-Ferodo for the past decade. Hundreds of thousands of Australian motorists benefit from the research and development that goes into the race. Superior braking performance, dependable stopping power. Make sure Hardy-Ferodo disc brake pads and linings are fitted to your car. Hardy-Ferodo, they're the brakes.
John Shepherd, the genius behind the Marlborough Holden dealer team, wants to shave plenty of time off his pit stops. And in this dummy run for our Channel 7 cameras, we timed his pit stop.
As you can see, the car's being jacked up on air jacks, drivers coming out, fuel going in the back, and the operation obviously is to have all these things happen at once, so that the drivers are in, ready to go, the mechanics have got the wheels on ready to go, the fuel's empty, the fuel churn's empty obviously, and now, in the first place we felt that it wasn't possible with the speeded up fuel times to get this to happen, but we've had to smarten our game up and we can now do all the operations together, have the car fueled, and as you can see it's ready to go and everything's happened all at once.
Bad. Not bad indeed for John Shepherd. We're in the countdown for the 1979 Great Race.
Derek, we've got you here at last.
Yes, thank you very much. Great to be back again.
Right, I didn't mean that. I mean, you've been off watching the marching girls while we've been looking for you.
Sorry about that.
Derek, how much is the weather likely to affect things? Because it's a very changeable sort of day here today.
Yeah, well, I think as far as we're concerned, we don't really mind what happens. We were 5 seconds quicker in the wet than anybody else in the 2-litre class and 2 seconds quicker in the dry. So whichever it happens, we're going to be looking quite good, I think.
So it could be a good year for Alpha.
I really hope so, but it's going to, you know, I hate it when everything's running so smoothly. We've had no problems yet, and I'm really very worried about it.
Right. Another international driver, although he comes from Australia, is Warwick Brown. Warwick, this year you're with Gary Cook in the Toronto, and you're fairly well up the grid.
Yes, Evan, we managed to get 8th, and you know, we're fairly confident of having a good result. It's really going to take something special, of course, to stop Brock, but you know, it's 6.5 hours, and anything can happen.
Well, you're one of the great drivers in Australia as far as single-seaters, but we haven't seen much of you in touring cars. How do you like the change?
Well, it's been unusual, to say the least. You know, it's a totally different attitude and a totally different approach, and well, I followed Derek around yesterday, and he gave me a few pointers.
Among the international visitors to Bathurst this year is the British journalist Jeremy Walton. Jeremy, your first visit here. Unfair to ask you before you see the race, but how does all the atmosphere, the preparation of cars, and the whole pizzazz of Bathurst strike you?
I think it ranks among the great international events. The whole pizzazz is very professionally done, and the television coverage is very impressive compared with Europe.
Right. You're going to stay on for a few days and look at the Australian scene?
I certainly am. I'm looking forward to going to Melbourne next week.
What sort of races do you cover? What's your normal itinerary? I met you in Europe a few times, so I know you travel the circuits there pretty well.
Yeah, I normally cover both saloon car racing, or touring car racing as you call it, and also rallying, international rallying.
Keeps you pretty busy.
Keeps me very busy.
We'll be talking to Jeremy Walton during the telecast. One of the innovations, by the way, Jeremy, this year, as far as this race is concerned, is the dry brake refueling system. You remember the fire with Alan Moffat last year and the criticism of the refueling methods? This year, it's all changed. To tell you how it works, let me once again introduce for you Chris Economaki.
Search for safety in motor racing never ends. And the fear of fire is one of the greatest fears a racing driver has, whether he be at Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the United States. A change in regulations for this year's Hardy-Ferodo 1000 calls for the safest type of fuel filler known to mankind on these cars. The same type of system is used on the Boeing 747 airliner, and it's called the dry brake system. A year ago, Alan Moffat's car came into the pits. They took the gas cap off, fueled it up. When the engine was started, the car backfired and a fire ensued. It was a pretty dangerous fire, and it could have been more serious. That led to the new regulations calling for this dry brake system. All of the cars in this year's Hardy-Ferodo 1000 now have it. Instead of the old gas cap, a $5 item, we have a $350 valve, aviation-type valve, with a spring-loaded cap. There's no cap to take off. You cannot leave anything off, as you might with something like this. To fuel this item, which covers a 28-gallon tank, a specially made can. Believe it or not, it costs close to $200, and a special valve on the top of it is fitted into the neck. Now, the fuel man picks this up, and full of fuel, 10 Australian gallons, it weighs over 100 pounds. He must fit it in perfectly into the neck, like this. Picking up the 100-pound can is not easy, and with a 28-gallon tank, the process must be repeated certainly once and perhaps twice before the car is fully refueled. So, in the interest of safety and speedy refueling, we have this new dry brake fuel system on all the cars. In the United States, when the dry brake was instituted in stock car racing, the first season it was in use, some of the crewmen had trouble fitting the unit into the tank, and as a consequence, the cars would roar off with the tank still stuck in the gas tank. We might see some of that in today's Hardy for Auto 1000.
Gary, you've been up there this morning. How's the mood?
The mood is fantastic, Mark. I wish the weather was half as warm. It is very chill up there, but that is not going to stop anybody today. The usual hardcore bands of Holden and Ford opponents are up there yelling friendly abuse at each other and anybody else that happens to get in their direction. But they've been there all night, camped out, really enjoying themselves, preparing for the big race, and it really is going to be fantastic.
Of course, with the weather being so, well, who knows what it's going to do. We have very, very dark clouds across the horizon at the moment. A few blue patches at other parts of the circuit. And here at the Hardy for Auto, of course, tyres play the most significant factor. To explain a little about different types of tyres that are used in all different types of conditions here at the Hardy for Auto, here's Chris Economaki.
One of the reasons for the dramatic increase in speeds on the Mount Panorama circuit has been tire development. All of the cars in the Hardy for Auto 1000 will start the race on slick tires if the weather is dry. It's the old law of physics. The more alike two surfaces are, the more the friction. But what if it rains? Well, then they move to another tire with a slightly grooved surface. It's the same tire as this one with a little thicker tread, the grooves cut by hand. And then if it's a torrential downpour, they move to a traditional rain tire looking tire. Again, it's the same tire with the grooves are cut wider and deeper. The water sloshes out between the grooves on the tires. The Mount Panorama track provides problems for drivers when it rains because historically it rains only on parts of the circuit, leaving other parts dry. They need the adhesion on the dry parts and the water brushing away capabilities on the other. And then when the sun comes out to dry the track where the trees overhang on the high side, that part remains wet. It's a tough compromise for the pit chiefs and the drivers. Back to you, Gary.
They might need all those three types of tyres here today yet by the look of the weather. Could rain, could fine up, we don't know. We've got some more drivers lined up on the grid to talk to you. Let's go back there.
And the man doing up his shoe, as we'll see as we tilt up, is Alan Grice, just putting on the driving boots.
You just make sure they don't come loose. It's a little bit awkward with something like that a bit loose out there.
I notice you wear special boots walking around and different ones for driving. It's as important as that not to get grit or mud on the shoes.
Yeah, that's right. I only put the driving shoes on just before I get in the motor car because, you know, a bit of mud on the hill and you can slip off a pedal and that's the end of the race.
You're on the second row of the grid alongside Alan Moffat. How important is the start going to be this time, Alan?
Well, it's certainly important to get away cleanly and get up the mountain first. It's very, very greasy up the top there today. I wouldn't like to be arriving there behind too many cars because the more cars there are, the more chances there are of a mistake being made.
So you're going to make a quick start if you can and get out of the way?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get up there.
Oh boy, that'll be worth watching. Well, a man who'll be right alongside him at the start is Alan Moffat, carrying the Ford flag as always. I think, Alan, you're a bit higher up than some people were giving you the possibility. You're up there in the second row and you can't be too unhappy with that.
No, well, the crew worked extremely hard to get us in the race, and it's a long way from where we were on Friday. I'm thankful for that. We're disappointed. We work all year long to get on the front row, but second in row for 1,000 kilometers isn't going to be any handicap.
How hectic are these opening laps going to be?
Well, I got some pretty tough guys in front of me. I think we've seen historically that the opening laps, no one likes to let anyone get away, and I don't think it's going to be any different this year.
Well, the man who least likes to see them at $100 a lap?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody will be cognizant of that fact and wanting to get it.
So that's what, $16,300 in prize money just for the leaders of the lap. So there's a lot of money involved.
Yes, there is too. But we'll do everything we can.
Alan Moffat on the second row of the grid. One of the really dramatic finishes in this race was in 1976 when John Fitzpatrick, the great English driver, nursed the ailing Bobby Morris's car, not Bobby Morris, but his car, across the line to a dramatic win. Well, this year, John Fitzpatrick has changed camps. He's with Alan Moffat. Alan starting from the second row of the grid. And you have a certain look of quiet confidence about you, John Fitzpatrick.
Well, we've had a lot of problems in practice, Evan, but yesterday the car seemed to come good. And I did a few laps in the car. I was really happy. The car it really is good. I was surprised. It was much better than I expected after all the problems. And I think we need a lot of luck, but I think we'll be there to finish.
How does it compare with the Tirana?
It's a lot heavier than the Tirana. You've got to drive the car much smoother. The Tirana, you can sort of throw it around a little bit, but you have to treat the Falcon with a lot of respect. But it's got a lot of power, very fast on the straight.
Right. John Fitzpatrick, a man we'll be watching in action, and we'll be talking to him also later during the race. In the meantime, with a little more than 10 minutes to go to the start, once more it's back to Gary Wilkinson.
And Mike Raymond also rejoining us up in the Ron Hodgson Channel 7 commentary tower.
I'm really impressed with the great build-up in the crowd here in the last hour. It's been absolutely fantastic. There are very, very few spots, vantage spots, along pit straight here. In fact, coming off the racetrack back to our commentary box, it's almost like a tug of war getting back here. Everyone jockeying for a view of the field. And there's just a proportion of the crowd along pit straight. Of course, it's even larger in certain other areas around the course. I think one of the largest crowds I've ever had here for the Hardy Ferodo 1000. The 7 Network, in association with Hardy Ferodo and the Australian Racing Drivers Club, welcomes you to Australia's premier motorsporting event. Gentlemen, start your engines! The scene is set for the 1979 Hardy Ferodo 1000. The balloons disappear into what is a pretty grey situation in terms of clouds rolling in over the circuit. That beautiful backdrop that we have to the end of Conrod Straight. The drivers concentrating. Only a minute or so before the start. Bob Morris, Peter Brock, front row. Row 2. The pro, Alan Moffat, and the man who wants a win here probably more than anyone else, Alan Grice.
60 cars stretched out. Only 30 seconds to go before the start. 163 laps. There's the 30-second award being displayed in the top left of the screen for the starter's box. Cars to watch, Rock on your right, Morris alongside, Moffat on the far left, Grice in the middle, maybe Charlie O'Brien behind him. Bond in the yellow Falcon.
This is it, the great race.
The flag is raised. Oh, Moffat has made a brilliant start. He's flying and Brock is going. And here they come to that critical first bend.
We have a touch-off in the Hardy Ferodo Classic for 79 with Peter Brock 05 for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. Zooming up Mountain Straight. Right behind him, Bobby Morris. Alan Moffat has advanced from 4th to 3rd, and Alan Grice. And here is our camera view in the Peter Williamson car in the small litre class. This is what it feels like in the opening corner and the first run to Mountain Straight. Peter Brock, 05, former National Touring Car Champion, leads from Bobby Morris, Alan Moffat, Alan Grice, Peter Jansen. Then the rest of the field, and Brock, who was going to conserve in this opening lap of the race, has established, even at this stage, what you would term a handy lead. Peter Williamson, meantime, trying to press the top of the mountain to get through some of these slower cars, not making any spectacular manoeuvres in this opening lap, because the drivers really don't know if anything goes wrong, what's ahead of them.
The Mazda in front weaving across the road, the adrenaline pumping, 60 drivers out there all trying their hardest, trying to conserve their cars, trying to go fast. But look at Peter Brock, and the crowd are going wild at the top of the mountain.
They've got a Tirana 1, they've got a Tirana 2 and a Ford in 3rd. Peter Brock, smooth as can be, Mr. Professional in every sense of the word. Bobby Morris in 2nd. Alan Moffat in the Federation Camel Falcon is back in 3rd. Now, through this part of the circuit that is very demanding, the drivers have to take it very, very, very closely against the concrete wall. This is what it feels like, folks, in the first lap, with all this traffic coming over the top of the mountain. There's Peter Williamson right on the tail of a Tirana that isn't running as quickly as Peter Williamson would like to run. Now, the open spaces, the wide open territory of Conrod Straight, and it's all out, all the way.
And it's Brock down the bottom of the straight. A fabulous first lap. He's going to go through in the standing start in about 2 minutes 30 seconds, and that's quick time.